We've been talking about this questions. We started the series called "The Tough Questions" last week, and we kicked off the series with one tough question, which was why does God allow sufferings to us? And we talked about that a little bit. And today we're gonna deal with a different question. As we proceed with this series, tough questions. Again, we are. At least I am getting questions from you. Doesn't necessarily mean that I know everything. I do act like I know everything, but I don't know everything. And I know that Dr. Pellin here, he knows everything. So if I get stuck, I will ask him. So you ask me first, and then I will ask him. Okay. Anyway, so send me questions. Okay, you can. I'm gonna give you my phone number. It's coming. Okay, it's in the bulletin and it's coming. My phone number is coming. It'll be on the screen. But just text me, or you can just I don't know, grab my shoulder and say, "Hey, I have a question." Okay, then I'll try to wrestle with those questions and try to come up with a good direction to deal with those questions, not exactly the answer for the question. And the reason we're doing this is. I know some. I don't know what kind of church background you're from, but some church background we just go like you just believe. Don't ask questions. You just believe. I mean, belief is core value that we do consider as important thing in our church. But I think asking good questions is a good tool, very necessary, important tool in the journey of faith. So please come up with difficult, tough questions and. Put me on the corner so that I can ask Dr. Pellin about that, okay? All right, we are gonna talk about a question, tough question today. Another tough question, which is, didn't science disprove Christianity or God, okay? I know we have a lot of students here, and when I was in your age, like last year, I had a difficult time with struggling, this question, science, God, can they go together, Don't they kind of, I don't know, they don't like each other, and it's kind of hard to know where to stand in between, or where should I, go with this. So we're going to tackle this question with today's passage, which is from Job, and you read some portion of the text on the screen from the video. We're going to read the passage first, and then talk about this question. Okay, we're going to go to Book of Job, chapter 38, verse 1 to 18. It's on the screen. It's in your bulletin. Let's do this. I'm going to read all the odd verses. You read all the even verses. Okay? Then the Lord spoke to Job out of the storm. He said, "Brace yourself like a man. I will question you, and you shall answer me. Who marked off its dimensions? Surely you know. Who stretched the measuring line across it? While the morning stars sang together and all the angels shouted for joy. When I made the clouds as garment and wrapped it in thick darkness, when I said, this far you may come and no further, well, here is where you proud waves halt. That it might take the earth by the edges and shake the wicked out of it. The wicked are denied their light, and their upraised arm is broken. Have the gates of death been shown to you? Have you seen the gates of deepest darkness? Okay, we're going to talk about science today, but to be honest with you, before I say anything further, I'm not really good at science. Again, like last year when I was your age, I didn't really get a good grade. I was good at chemistry, but biology and what other things there in science? biology, physics. I was good at actually physics and chemistry, but I wasn't really good at biology and what else is there? Earth science. I hate earth science. I even hated Earth because of that. Okay? But I wasn't really good at science. Science wasn't really my subject. So I didn't really like it. But it's kind of hard for me to talk about science before you guys. I know that we may have some science teachers here and who really was good at science when you guys were in school. And even for Bali Church, the church who gather together here after this CIC, we do have some scientists there. And I'm going to talk about the same issue in front of scientists. Like they're like doctors, not like medical doctors, but doctors who know everything except for medical stuff, okay? Anyway, so it's going to be kind of tough for me, but I'll say we're going to reach this subject from somebody who doesn't really know about science. And I think you may feel a lot of things in common with me in that perspective. So let's start with this. We do struggle with this question a lot. Didn't science disprove God, like Christianity? Science, God, can they really go together? Is it really possible? So we feel like if we have like those science like, I don't know, what do you call it? Some like things we can prove that God is real is science way, okay? Let's say we do have this like Red Sea split science park, okay, near Middle East, okay? And we go there, we see that every time you push the button, like then Red Sea kind of like split up. Boosh. Woo, it happened again. We can see that. It works. You see, Bible is true. I mean, wouldn't that be awesome? And we go like walk through that, the wall of ocean water, and we see the fishes like swimming there. Like, well, this is awesome. If we have that kind of like science park there, well, that would be really cool and neat, and so everybody would probably believe that God is true. Not just that, like there is. Let's say, how about this? We do have this small Last Supper park. So we go there, and there's no miracle actually. There is. Let's do this. How about walk on the water park? Okay. Every time we go there, we can experience that. Okay. Like Peter, we can walk on water, and see, it works. You see. I mean, we imagine all those we can imagine those kind of things. If we do prove that, we can see that, we can comprehend everything in the Bible. Everything will be way easier for us to understand and just believe. But truth is, reality is, it doesn't work that way. So let's start with what science is really about, okay? I found this definition of science from Webster's English Dictionary. So definition of science goes like this. Science is a noun, okay? Systematic knowledge of the physical or material world gained, I like this part, gained through observation and experimentation. Which means, we all believe that, we want to see something with a science way, but if you really think about what really science is, it's not that we were born with this certain knowledge. What the knowledge we have called science is actually kind of saved up, kind of gained through observation of repeated pattern of natural happening. For example, spring, summer, fall, and then what comes after that? Winter, okay? How do we know that? How are we so sure about that? Because we have observed this pattern over and over and over again, so we do have this anticipation that it's gonna come. Winter is gonna be the next season. It's just like that. Our science, knowledge called science, works like that. Okay, there's a problem. What is the problem? Because if there's somebody who observes something really happening, it doesn't necessarily mean that that person who observes the pattern has a power over that reality. Okay, let me give you an example. Pastor John has a dog named Miracle. Okay, it looks like this. Miracle, come on. Okay, not those two girls are Miracle. The puppy, that's a miracle, okay? Actually, it doesn't belong to Pastor John. It belongs to Pastor John's daughter, Rachel, who's sitting in this room right now. And sometimes the family asks my family, or my wife's family to watch the dog for a number of days. And we took that photo. It's not that we kidnapped the dog from the family and took the photo. We got the permission from the family. While we're watching the dog, we took that photo. And we do watch the dog for a number of days while the Pastor John's family is gone. But again, it doesn't mean that we can take any puppies from you guys. Okay? So don't do that. Okay? Anyway, that's not the point. But what really happened is, when we watched that dog called Miracle, Pastor John's wife, Jenny, asked me, or my wife, but eventually me, to take that dog out, okay, for a walk twice a day. Early morning, like super early morning, like 9 o'clock, okay? And then like evening time, like 5-ish, okay, twice, so that that little thing can do number 1 and number 2 out there, a certain fixed area. Anyway, but the thing is, if you look at this situation from Miracle's side, that puppy side, what happened is that dog, Miracle, observes what's happening here. Twice a day. It happens all the time, regular basis. So this dog expects, anticipates, tomorrow it's going to happen again. This is actually called science. Okay? Observing certain order from repeated pattern happen to, our nature. You just assume that this is going to happen again based on this routine. Okay? But this is what happens. Someday, I feel like I don't want to take this dog out. Okay? That's me. Maybe I'm a very good person, but I'm not really good dog owner. Okay? Maybe not really good dog watcher or keeper. So one morning, very early morning, 9 o'clock, I feel like I don't want to take this dog out. I'm not gonna do it. You know what really happens here? This science, this knowledge, this miracle little dog got from observing master or watcher's pattern now breaks down. Science doesn't necessarily fit the reality sometimes. Okay? Why? Because observer doesn't have any power over what this observer observes. The person who makes the order has the power over this reality. Now, I'd like to explain this a little bit further. Science, God, how can they go together? Science actually is, now this is tough part that I need to talk about. It is actually from people who observe the certain things from nature. But the thing is, they don't necessarily have a power over the one who made the order. So they may not go together very often, maybe sometimes, but what we try to do is we have to see the reality from different perspectives. Okay, how are we gonna deal with this then? We can talk about like existence of God in like with different words, like a lot of theories, a lot of like stuffs out there. But we can simplify all these things to 2 simple conditions. There are only 2 options, nothing else. Though there are a lot of things out there, we can just simplify all those things into only 2 options. They're like this. Number 1, God made man. That's one option, okay? What's the other option then? Man made God. There are 2 options, nothing else, right? You can't really think of anything outside of that box. It's either God made man or man made God, right? Okay, let's explore a little bit further with this. If God made man, let me ask you a question. Does God know man more or does man know God more? I know, it's like, what? Confusing. God made man. If that's true, God made man is true. Does man know God more or man knows God knows man more? God knows man more. I can even do wording a little differently. It actually means God knows everything about man. That's true. But man knows everything about God? That's not true if God made man is true, right? So it goes like this. God knows everything about man. If God made man, it is true that God knows everything about man. But on the other side, if man made God, the logical conclusion we can get about knowledge of God is like this. If man-made God is true, man knows everything about God because man made God, right? Man knows God more than God knows man. One more. If God made man, what happened is the next one. Man is under God's control, right? If God made man, man is under God's control. That makes perfect sense according to those two propositions we have. But on the other side, if man made God, it's not that man is under God's control, but God is under man's control. Right? Okay, this is very important. Why? Because, let me start with this. When we are in a journey called faith, sometimes we find ourselves actually trying to do, kind of mix them up. You see what I'm saying? We say we believe that God made man, but what we're trying to do is we feel like God is under my control. So we try, do something, just make God do something that I want him to do. But that actually doesn't make sense, On the other hand, if I want to go a little further with the knowledge thing. If God knows everything about man, if man doesn't know everything about God, listen, what we're saying is, if you don't know everything about God, I don't really understand what God is doing. You have to make sure that I understand what God is doing. If you make me understand what he's doing, if you make me understand what he really is, then I will believe. I will believe that God made man. This is a usual argument that, people who believe science, is over divine being. But the thing is, it doesn't make sense. Why? Because when we say we don't know everything about God, but God knows everything about us, then we're saying God, because God made us. It's not that we made God. When you say you got to know everything about God, you got to make sure you make me understand what God is doing, who really he is, that actually means you got to show me that you made God. You see the argument here? The flowing here? So what we're trying to do is we could mix them up. But the thing is, the fact that we don't really know, we don't really understand fully who he is, what he has done. We don't really see the whole picture. We don't really understand. We cannot prove who he is in a science way to people. That actually means that God made us. We didn't make God because we don't know everything about God. You see? The thing is that in that case, we actually happen to see ourselves facing the very fundamental, basic question, which is, so did you make God or God made you? The thing is, you can't really prove that, right? Can you really prove that? Some people say that, there are some evidences out there. There can be some evidences, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you are 100% sure. You can prove this 100% sure. And it actually argues from both ways. So what I'm trying to say is this. There's a writer, author named C.S. Lewis, and you probably are familiar with, many of you are familiar with him. He's an amazing guy. He died long ago. But one of his books called Evolution of Man, there is a expression goes like this. He wrote, C.S. Lewis, you cannot go on explaining away forever. You will find that you have explained explanation itself away. You cannot go on seeing through things forever. The whole point of seeing through something is to see something through it. What does it mean? Let me add a little explanation to this explanation argument, okay? When we have this window, window in your house, what's the purpose of window? Purpose of window? You can see something through it, right? So window is a good thing so that you can see something through it. But he's saying, seeing something through this window, if that is good, it doesn't necessarily mean that having window, everything transparent, that's not even possible. You see, if everything is transparent, if this is transparent, I am transparent, speaker is transparent, everything's transparent, that actually means that you can't really see anything. Why? Because window is there, transparent window is there so that you can see something that's not transparent through it. The point is, We want explanation on everything. We want proof from everything. We want to believe with evidences, explanation. But all the explanations out there actually to reach something that's maybe not explainable, but still it's called truth. When we ourselves face this question, so who made whom? Did man make God or man made oh, it's confusing. Did man make God or did God make man? It's hard to prove. There's nobody can, because when God created the whole earth, was somebody there like watching everything, and like internet, I don't know, casting, doing okay. Now commentary there too. God is making. He just said, "Let there be light." Ooh, look at that! Light is coming. Oh, look at the light that is shining. Now let's videotape it so that everybody can see it and believe it. We do have a Bible, but doesn't necessarily mean that somebody's there and saw everything and like prove it in a like science way. But we still have to face this question. But the answer is, I don't really know. But the point is this: the Bible is not written to prove that. You know, it's not that in the Bible, Bible shows like everything about God. Don't expect that. Bible doesn't tell us everything about God. Okay, it's because it's impossible. If there's any document that says I got everything about God, how is it? God is so big, you know, so infinite. There's no way certain document, certain book can contain everything about God. Then what is really Bible about? Bible is not really about God proving himself he is real to us. It's actually something else. He's trying to prove something else, which is he is trying to prove his love for us in the Bible. So his selective information is in the Bible to prove that his love for us. I got to do a little interview here, okay? I need a married couple to ask this question, and I decided to go with Leslie, okay? Hi, Leslie. Thank you for being here. I have a few questions to ask you, okay? The number one question is, the person who's sitting next to you is your husband, right? Okay, good. Okay, everything starts from there. How long did you guys date before you got married? Good, because I heard that from Joe earlier. If numbers don't match, then that's a problem. He said 7 years too. Okay, 7 years. They dated for 7 years, okay? I dated with my wife for, I think, 10 months. Way shorter, okay? Okay, next question. Did he propose to you? Okay, good. When he proposed to you, when you got into the position to make the very important decision in your life, let me ask you this question. Out of 100%, how much did you know about Joe? Rate it. Out of 100. At that point. Like out of 100%, how many percent, like what percentage did you know about this guy? Yeah, you thought you knew. Looking back, how much? 15? 7? 2.5? I know. So what's the percentage? 90. You sure? 90? You gotta actually, to make my point, you gotta say something like lower, way lower, like something like 15. Say 15. 15. 15%? Well, Leslie just said 15%, okay? So when Joe proposed to Leslie, the level of information she had about future husband-to-be was only, I'll give you two more, okay? 17%, okay? Let me ask you the last question. How could you marry this guy then? Only knowing 70% about the guy. It's kind of a rhetorical question. You don't have to answer that question, okay? I mean, to just give you my personal example, okay? I dated my wife for only 10 months, okay? And to be honest with you, just looking back, okay? But at that point, I thought I knew everything about my wife. But looking back, I feel like I knew just, 3.5% about my wife. And the number is actually going lower now. Like every morning I get up, I see her, I see new things from her. Like, wow, she's surprising me every day. Okay? But the thing is, the point I'm trying to make here is this. I know we have some married couples here. When you, apply this to your situation. When you are about to make this decision to marry somebody, it's not that you have 100% information about the person, right? It's impossible. It doesn't really matter how long you date the person. You see, it's impossible to know 100% about a certain person. But you still, though it's so risky, though you don't really know 100% about this person, what do? You do this crazy thing. What do? You marry that person, right? Why? Why? Because you may not know 100% about this person. You are certain about two things. Number one, you know that in a certain way, in a certain degree, this person is good. Number two, you are sure that, you are certain that this person's love for you is faithful. At least you believe that. You are certain of that. Everything else, vary. Okay? You may be surprised every morning you get up, like, who's the person sitting right, laying down right next to me? But as long as these two things are certain, then you go with this relationship. Why? Why? Because knowledge matters, but belief on these two things is the core of your relationship with your spouse. Now, let me go back to Bible. God is saying, if you look at this passage, Job is he's suffering really bad. And he's saying, hey, God, let me know. Then you know what God is saying? He doesn't give him like explanation. He doesn't say, he doesn't say that like, this is what happened. I want you to understand this. He doesn't do anything like that. What he actually said? He said, I made everything. You don't know me. I am way bigger than you are. I am way bigger than the capacity of your understanding. You see? But listen, we still try to believe him. Why? Because throughout the Bible, God is not trying to prove himself to us, but he's trying to prove one thing to us, which is his love for us. Two things, like I said earlier. He's saying, I am good. I am good God to you. Though you may not be able to understand who I am fully, but what I'm trying to show you is my love. I am good. And one more, my love for you will not change. I am faithful God. How do we believe that? How do we believe that? On the cross, he showed that to us. I am good. My love for you will not change. Look at the tree. I sacrificed my son, not science way to prove my reality to you, but my love for you. I am good. My goodness to you and will not ever, ever change. God is saying in the book of Job, I am the one who made everything. You know how great I am, how big I am? The same God became so small, so nothing. Not just to prove his reality to us in science way, but to his love for us to have relationship with you and me. So our faith starts from there, his love. Though we may not be able to comprehend who he is, what he does, in science way, in whatever way. But as long as we see that from this book, his love is good and will not change, we go with them. We believe that you are my God because I am yours. That's called faith. Let's pray. As we pray, maybe you don't ask this question to yourself often. Didn't science disprove God? But we do ask this question very often to ourselves. Does God make sense in this situation? Like we talked about suffering last week a little bit. When you see suffering, when you are in a suffering situation, we ask this question, how does God make sense in this situation? Right? Whenever we find ourselves in some sort of a dark place in your life, we ask the same question, how does God make sense out of this? We share this prayer request for Miss Johnson. And we ask the same question, how does God make sense out of this? Maybe he's not going to show all the explanation to us, but he showed the same love, same truth to us on that tree. I am so big. I am way beyond your capacity of understanding. I'm that kind of God, but I became so small. I became so nothing. So that I can show you two things. I am your good God, and it's not going to change. Though all those things you feel like doesn't make sense in your life, I'm not going to change. Maybe some of you need to hear this message. I know you're in a situation, you're stuck. Ask this question. I can't make sense out of this, God. But maybe God is whispering to your heart right now. I know. Maybe you will never understand me. But I want you to see my love. That's the starting point. And walk with me. Because my love will not ever change. So walk with me. So as we pray, I want you to respond to His invitation. And just let's jump into the world. Does it make sense? Yet, our true God is there. He's leading us. So let's pray.